In today's podcast, we're excited to welcome Amy Beckley, a distinguished figure with a PhD in pharmacology whose work spans vaccine development, cancer drug discovery, and reproductive health. Beckley's personal battle with infertility inspired her to found and create Proov, an innovative FDA cleared home diagnostic test that measures key hormone levels to assess fertility. Proof reflects Amy's dedication to empowering women by making fertility diagnostics more accessible and understandable. As a strong advocate for women's healthcare, Amy continues to push the boundaries of innovation in the fertility space, aiming to enhance women's reproductive health through technology and education. Today, we'll learn about Amy's inspiring journey, the science behind Proof, and the future of fertility diagnostics. Welcome to Keep IT Healthy podcast, the show hosted by people making things happen in technology, aiming to optimize healthcare delivery, health, well-being, and fitness. My name is Jan Kamiński and I'm the co-founder of AppLover, a company dedicated to improving the quality of life with IT solutions and digital advisory. We started making this podcast to amplify great thinking to propel healthcare forward.
I was told that IVF, or in vitro fertilization, which is a $40,000, procedure, was my only way to conceive. So I do have one child as a result of those advanced treatments. But then my daughter was a very simple medication that was like a $10 copay with my insurance. And it was because I was able to figure out what was wrong with me. And so what I wanted to do was create a product, create a company that could educate people in my position to help advocate for answers. I mean, I didn't didn't understand why we had to be infertile. We had to have multiple miscarriages before we were allowed to have help towards something like infertility.
Can you describe how the product works exactly and then what it's all about?
Yeah, so it's a urine-based hormone monitor. And what we do is women will download the free app and they'll enter in their information. And then we'll tell them what day a test day is, and we'll monitor their hormones across the entire menstrual cycle, and we'll understand how many eggs they have left. So that's like basically, do they have low ovarian reserve? Know when their fertile window is, know if there's anything wrong after ovulation, if there's any hormone imbalances that could cause, infertility or something like that. And so it's just a way to scan the menstrual cycle and understand if there's anything wrong that could be causing infertility.
Could you discuss the scientific research behind it and what makes it unique on the market for the fertility products?
The menstrual cycle is controlled by 4 hormones, and each hormone has to be up and down at the right point during their cycle for a woman to conceive. So the first hormone tells the body to make an egg. Second hormone makes the uterus nice and thick. The third hormone releases the egg, and the fourth hormone makes it so implantation can happen. And so if you don't have any of these hormones, or they're in the wrong ratios or wrong levels, then it could be more difficult for a woman to conceive. And so what we do is we just analyze all 4 hormones and we say, okay, this is just out of the ordinary or not particularly ideal. This could be something that you can ask your doctor about. And a lot of times there are simple medications used to promote a healthy menstrual cycle, a healthy hormone balance.
I mean, there's a software component and there is a, let's say, hardware component, but the software is free for
Yeah. I mean, we're
models.
measuring like 45 hormones, like 45 hormone measures across the menstrual cycle. And it's like almost impossible for women to understand it. And so what we do is we use the software to capture the hormone values and to crunch all the numbers and analyze it and then give her a report at the end so that she can understand it.
Okay, but you mentioned that the software is free, so it's like a subscription model. What's the model of the company?
The revenue model of the company is the test kits. So the actual test is kind of looks like a pregnancy test or a COVID test. So it's a test that put first morning urine, you dip the strip, and then it's got like lines on it, and then you take the phone camera and you image the test, and then it reads it based on our calibrations on the back end, and then we're able to get hormone values. So the front end software just goes with the actual physical test strips.
I get that. And with that, what were the biggest challenges that you face in developing both software and the whole product?
That's a great question. So, um, we help women with their hormones, and a lot of times it's hopefully a short journey, right? We want them to come in, measure their hormones, get out, move on with their life. And so we didn't want there to be an external device that would measure the hormones. So we made the phone do it. People know that there's a very, very powerful camera within their iPhone, within their Samsung Galaxy, whatever, their Pixel. And so what we're doing is we're using the powerful camera and a lot of back-end algorithms, some machine learning, some AI to make it so your phone is the device that reads the hormones as opposed to an external thing. And so what we have to do is we have to calibrate it to multiple different camera types. Every time there's a operating system update, we have to update the software. So we're trying to make it easy for users to not have to buy an external device and just use their camera, but it's a very hard challenge because then you have to, users take a picture. We have to make sure the lighting's okay. There's no shadows, there's no pieces of hair, right? So there's a whole bunch of like things that go into the back end that make sure the image is okay or reading it correctly. So it's a challenge, but the user comes first. We want her to have the best experience.
And you also mentioned AI. What's the AI component?
The AI component is a lot of the image recognition. So mostly we use machine learning, neural nets, those kind of things. We have a little bit of AI that helps with the image recognition. So it'll reject images that have maybe a shadow over the testing window, or it has a piece of debris or something like that.
Okay, and how has proof impacted the approach to fertility and women's understanding of reproductive health, and in general, what was the users' feedback at the beginning and then after the launch?
So at the beginning, they didn't quite understand what our technology did. Anytime you put something new out there, they always want to compare it to something they've already known. And so ovulation tests have been out there for a long time. And so that tells users when their fertile window is, when to have intercourse. And so since our technology looked similar but was measuring different hormones, a lot of people thought, oh, well, this is it. This is going to help me time intercourse. It's a fertile window tracker. But that's not really what we were. We were more of a lab that would analyze hormones and look at fertility profiles and see if there was any issues that were preventing conception. And so, we've had to update kind of what we say and how we interact with the consumer so that she kind of understands. And so at first they didn't understand it. But now I think people much understand it and they love to have that additional information. Having that piece of information helps them avoid things like advanced fertility treatments like IVF. So women are getting pregnant faster, they're getting pregnant with less cost. So everyone really likes it now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, IVF is just very, very expensive. As a founder, how do you see especially in your industry, how do you see the technology playing a role in advancing reproductive health diagnostics? Because I'm sure that's a real problem in general. And like, what technological innovations have been most crucial for your company?
Yeah, I mean, everybody has their phone with them. It's like the lifeline. Everyone's got an app for this and that and the other thing. And so that was the biggest technological challenges was creating your phone is the hormone reading device. It still remains the biggest challenge in the company, but I thought it was really important. I mean, nobody wants a physical device to remind them how they were infertile and can't get pregnant. So
Right. Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's what interests me the most is you mentioned user experience a few times, but how did user experience considering shape of, I mean, shape the development of Proov, and what challenges did you face in making complex hormonal analysis user friendly? Because from my perspective, that's the hardest thing.
yeah, I would say we probably haven't nailed it yet, but we're constantly working at it. I think the biggest thing is you have to listen to the consumer. You have to really understand what her problems are. And I've said this with my team before. You can't say anything is the user's problem. It's always our problem. Oh, well, the user didn't hold her phone the right way. She didn't do that. And like, no, we didn't train her. We didn't teach her to hold her phone the right way. We did something wrong. It's not, there's never no such thing as user error. It's us. We didn't build the right system. We didn't guide her. We didn't create it the right way. So we've built our app technology 3 times. So we had version 1, which was out in the market for a while, learned a lot from that. Now we have V2 in the market right now. That's been in the market for about 2 years. And we're working on V3 right now. It should be out in the next couple months. And so constantly learning about what's going wrong, what's going right, what they're understanding, what they're not understanding, and then adapting. And so, for example, in V2, which is what is in market right now, everything is hard coded into the app. And so, if there is a period out of place, if there is a word spelled wrong, we have to go and ask Apple, update the whole thing, ask them to review it to upload a new version. Whereas in this new version, it's not hard coded. It pulls from an API. So if there's text changes, we can make them real quick. And so part of that is the app world has advanced. And we built an app 3 years ago, which is almost obsolete. You have to reinvent everything. It's insane. Like technology is moving so fast that like I'm not going to say we did it wrong, but it's like we just keep learning and keep growing, and you address your needs different ways based off of what else is going on in the industry. We used to have industry standard app. Now it's obsolete and we got to start over again.
Regarding the V3, so the third version, what other developments or innovations we can expect from Proov to launch in the nearest future, and of course the ones you can share right now?
The biggest one is just making it more user friendly and able to do. I think it is overwhelming that you have all these hormones and days that you're testing and this and that. And it's just a lot. It's a lot. And so helping the user take it one day at a time and giving her just what she needs to know for that day. Because trying to conceive is a very stressful and hard thing that is, I've been through it. Like you just every single day is just a slog and it's just so hard. And so just creating a better platform that helps educate her in that moment that she needs to be educated, but not too much, because most women have no education at all because they don't teach fertility in school. And so you have to very carefully teach without overwhelming. And so that's really what we're trying to do is create a better experience that is not frustrating, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I wanted to ask about data and security. I know probably, given the sensitive nature of reproductive health data, what measures do you take to ensure user privacy and data security in general, of course?
Yeah. So I'm not a data person, but I will say we're not in the business of selling data. I mean, we're in the business of selling test kits. That's where we get our revenue. And so when we designed our app, we don't sell data to third parties. We don't use it for advertising or anything like that. We give the user 100% control. So she creates her account, she can delete her account. As soon as she deletes it, it's gone from our systems, which sometimes can be a problem because you have a woman who's deleted their account. They come in frantically, I need the data. I said, I don't have it. It's literally deleted from our systems. And so I think the biggest thing when people are looking at apps and privacy issues is what is the revenue model of that app, right? And so our revenue model is not data collection, it's not advertising, it's none of that. And so the apps that these women should be worried about are the free period trackers. Where are they getting their revenue? Selling data, advertising. That's where you have to be a little cautious about what kind of apps you use. I like to always say you don't ever get anything for free. There's always a cost. So if you are not paying money for the app or the service that you're using, you're paying for it some other way, and that is they're using your data for some other reason.
And I know you're in a sense community driven, and you have a strong community aspect. And A, how do you leverage technology to foster this community? And B, how do you support peer-to-peer interaction among users? Because I know that these are pretty private discussions. So how do you do it?
We leverage Facebook as a platform for user to user. We also have a customer support platform that we use on the back end to help people get through things. So some companies, oh, here's your product, and you go do it. Our product is, here's a product. If you need anything, let us know. Like, we email them constantly. How's it going? You need any help? All you have to do is just respond back to that email, and there's a human on the other end that reads it and responds and gets back in 24 hours. And so we understand that this type of test, this type of community is very high touch. They're worried. They don't understand. They've never had to deal with anything like this before. It's totally a new topic. And so we are there to embrace and help them along any point of the way. If they want to reach out 0 times, 100 times, every single day, whatever it is, we have either a community group, we have, the private messaging, via the email. We've staffed our organization accordingly to help each person get through this, because we know it's a very hard thing for some people to go through.
What have been the biggest challenges in getting both the medical community and consumers to adopt the new technology like Proov in their fertility space or clinics? Was it a hard sales process?
So I don't feel like I've succeeded at this yet, but how we're getting towards it is clinical studies. It is women who have success stories who share, oh, I used Proov. It told me I needed this. I got this treatment. I got pregnant. We did a clinical study that shows we can increase pregnancy rates 75% by, treating people with a certain hormone issue with certain treatments. But, the problem is healthcare is a business, and people don't really understand. They don't grasp it. Some of them don't. So think about healthcare as healthcare, right? Oh, you're just automatically going to do the right thing for that person. That's unfortunately not the right way to think about it, because a doctor is a human. You're limited by your experience, you're limited by the tools you use, you're limited by whatever your knowledge base is. And so doctors are also business people. They have to have a business. They have to make money doing whatever it is that they're doing. And then they're also specialized. If you go to a surgeon, they're going to say you need surgery. If you go to a chiropractor, they're going to tell you need chiropractic. That's just, you came to their office asking for a certain service. That is what you need. So in the fertility community, we have OBGYNs, which are medical doctors who help you get through pregnancy and any type of like gynecological issue. What they're not trained in is fertility. And so if you have a fertility issue, they usually push you over to the reproductive endocrinology, which is the fertility doctor. They are trained in IVF, or in vitro fertilization. That is what they do. So if you come to their office, they are analyzing you for IVF. That is their business. That is what they do. That is what they're trained to do, right? And so you have these people that come in and they say, oh, I have this problem. A lot of times they're getting told IVF because that is the service that these doctors provide. Whereas we want to get them before they need IVF, before they walk into that doctor, because about 30% of people that need IVF don't actually need IVF because it's something very simple that we could diagnose and treat. And so that's what we're doing on our platform right now, is we're offering the medical care component. So not only are you going to get tested, but if you have certain issues, we can direct you straight to physician to get that medical treatment, because doctors don't have the education. It's a new product, it's a new type of technology, it's a new idea that not all doctors know about, not all doctors know how to treat. And so you have to, as a consumer, as a person, have to understand when you go somewhere what they're going to sell you because that is what they know. I mean, it's not anything wrong with it. I'm not knocking on any doctors. I'm just saying, like, as a consumer, if I go to the pet store, I'm only going to go buy a pet, right? I'm not going to go to the home store. So, it's hard because people go, oh, I did this Proov test, and I'll come in to the reproductive endocrinologist, be like, well, I don't know what that is. Here, just do IVF instead. It's like, well, that's what they're trained to do. So I guess it's a really long answer, but I think healthcare is consumer healthcare. There's just so much new technology and new tests and new things that are coming out each day that doctors can't possibly understand them all. They can't possibly read all the literature and everything. And so, women, people in general, have to advocate for themselves for the right treatment at the right time. And, I think it's like one of the silver linings of COVID is that so much amazing technology came out of it, and the ability for consumers to educate themselves, to step up, to ask for certain things in a different way, to get to their goals faster, right? Like, we got to this point where food was coming to us, groceries were coming to us. Now healthcare is coming to us, medicine is coming to us. We don't have to leave. We know exactly, hey, oh, I need to lose weight. Cool. Ozempic. All right, I'm going to go online. Oh, here it comes straight to my house. And so I think consumers are getting really savvy. And that's what's really exciting, because we can now help women get pregnant and stay pregnant and lose weight and all these other things that we didn't ever have access to. So it's a really cool time to be alive, to be honest.
Are there any plans to integrate Proov with other health tracking platforms or apps? And how do you approach interoperability in the health tech ecosystem?
We do connect with Apple Health Kit, Google Health, and so we are creating, APIs where we can port data over. One of the biggest things is the menstrual cycle is the fifth vital sign for women, right? Everyone has a blood pressure, everyone has temperature, breathing. Women have this extra vital sign, the menstrual cycle. And then before Proov came along, there really wasn't a good way to measure the health of the menstrual cycle. It was, did you have your period or not? And so what we try to do is we try to talk about a healthy cycle and healthy hormones and healthy hormone balance. And so that you can actually create a metric and put that in. So, working with companies that do, like, that track step count and heart rate and breathing rate and temperature and all those things, to put that in there as another metric of health, so that these wellness devices have more data points to really understand. When somebody doesn't sleep well, their menstrual cycle is not healthy. The body is a really amazing thing. The reason the menstrual cycle is a vital sign is because you need a healthy menstrual cycle in order to reproduce, in order to conceive. And so if you have other systems that are out of balance, right? You have high blood pressure, you have diabetes, you have any of the other things, your body steals resources from your menstrual cycle and says you are not healthy enough. You are not a good enough vessel to carry another child, right? And so it pulls resources. So if you start to see health markers in your menstrual cycle, your menstrual cycle goes crazy first before you start to see high blood pressure or cholesterols or whatever issues. And so that's why the menstrual cycle is such an important vital sign. And so I think it's really important for women to monitor it and to see how it's going and make sure it's healthy, so that they can remain, active, healthy individuals.
Looking ahead, are there any emerging tech that you are excited about incorporating into Proof or the future projects?
Yeah, I think the wearables, but the rings, like wearables, like I personally have an Aura ring. I love that technology. I think it's great the way they're able to do all the things they are. So I like the kind of the wearable, the rings, and I feel like it's more accurate than watches, to be honest. So I'm excited about integrating with wearable technology and seeing the correlation between menstrual cycle health and sleep patterns and heart rate variability. Like, I think it flows together. I have an Oura ring, and I've just been doing my own experiments, and it will track my temperature, and it knows when I've ovulated. So when you ovulate, your temperature goes up. And what also happens is your heart rate variability changes for the worse. And so then it starts giving me a lower score because it thinks that I'm not well rested, that I have some kind of stressor. And really, what happened is I just ovulated. And when you ovulate, you release different hormones, and your body reacts to those hormones by changing your temperature and your heart rate, your breathing rate, which is not bad. It's just different. So I find it very interesting how your hormones, your menstrual cycle can change everything else about your body that now is signaling to this thing that you are in an unhealthy state and need to relax.
From your perspective, what are the current trends that significantly impact fertility and women's health?
There's this really, really old saying that everybody hates it. Oh, just relax, you'll get pregnant. Stop stressing out, you'll get pregnant. It is the worst thing you could possibly say to somebody because they can't just relax and get pregnant. But there is a lot of biology around that idea. So no, you can't just relax. But when your body is in this state of stress, it pulls resources from your menstrual cycle. It takes your body and doesn't produce a hormone called progesterone, which is what supports a healthy pregnancy and able to get pregnant. And it reduces that, and it turns, it lets your body make more cortisol, which is a stress hormone. And that's why you're also seeing changes in heart rate variability. You see changes in your sleep patterns. You're not sleeping as well. And so understanding these stressors and like what happens in the menstrual cycle when you're under stress, and trying to figure out how to prevent that. It's not just relax, right? Trying to prevent that, or trying to enable a lifestyle or an environment where you don't feel stressed out, you don't have these type of things going on in your body. I think that would be huge. Stress is just so impacts everybody, not just trying to conceive, just everybody in general. And the biggest place that it impacts is your sleep. And so it's a direct correlation with your sleep and your fertility. So if you're not sleeping well, you don't have good fertility. If you're not sleeping well, you feel like crap, right? So I think good sleep is really at the initial everything. Really try to get good sleep to function as a person. If you're trying to conceive, you're trying to get through life, you're trying to move up in your career, anything.
How is it in within the fertility clinics? Is it actually, I mean, are there, let's say, telemedicine friendly or not really?
So fertility clinics are very, very high touch. So there's a lot of blood draws, there's a lot of ultrasounds, there's a lot of like physical things that women need. So telehealth is a component of it, but it's not a big component. If you take fertility as like a pie of like all the different things that can cause you not to get pregnant, Proov hits on the one or the few things that you can do at home without a physical visit. And so it cuts off about 60% of that to try to treat that at home. But those other things, you need in-person visits. And so when you're going to a fertility clinic, they do the entire pie to try to figure out what it is. So there's aspects of fertility clinics that can be done online, but 100% of fertility care, if you need IVF or an advanced treatment, can never be online.
What about mental health aid?
Mental health, I actually was just talking to my employees about this, is everybody wants mental health. I mean, especially in the fertility space, it is so depressing. And I mean, they've done studies that it's as bad as getting a cancer diagnosis, or an AIDS diagnosis. Like, it's just devastating on women and their mental health. But the problem is, people want mental health and to have resources, but they don't want to pay for those resources,
Right.
particularly in their fertility space, because it's the mentality of, I'm just going to get pregnant this month. I don't need to worry about that. I'm just going to get pregnant this month. I'll do that next time. I'll do that next time. And you just keep pushing it down the line to where it gets out of control.
Right.
And so if you think about like cancer, right? If you got a cancer diagnosis, you're like, "Oh, I'm going to get mental health now. I have cancer. It's not going away." You go out and you get mental health. Whereas infertility, you say, "Oh, this is just it's transient. I'm gonna get pregnant this next cycle. I'm not gonna worry about the mental health until next month or the following month." And so women just they don't take care of themselves the way they should because of the transient nature they think fertility is.
What advice would you give to other tech companies or tech innovators that seek to make an impact on fertility sector in general?
I think it's really to know your consumer and what drives them. Something that's really hit us and what we weren't really prepared for was women consume couples, anybody who's trying to conceive, they do not want to spend money because it's unfair. Their neighbor got pregnant with no treatments. Why should they have to get pregnant with spending money? It's not a pleasurable cost. It's not something that they want to spend their money on. And so they try to prevent it, try to prevent it, try to prevent it. And then they're faced with, okay, well, now you're going to get pregnant. Now it's like $40,000. Then they're willing to spend money. And so to
Right.
try to understand the mentality of this consumer base with how broken they are, with how just they don't want to spend money, they don't want to be here, they hate everything about it, to try to create services or products that help that consumer.
I didn't look at this from that perspective. That's true. I mean, people in general, they don't want to pay for something that someone else got for free, right? And how important it is currently for you to cooperate with other companies, other tech companies, and are there any specific type of partnerships you're currently seeking right now, or you find most valuable?
Yeah, I think, women's health is having a day right now where, everyone's putting resources into women's health companies. There's a lot of need in the women's health space. And so there's a lot of founders and companies that are innovating small solutions within the space. And so I think it would be really smart for these us small companies to all get together and offer a comprehensive type of thing together as opposed to creating a slightly different version. The one that really in my mind is prenatal vitamins. In the last 2 years, the number of different prenatal vitamin companies that have popped up have been insane. And they all have one little, different to their vitamins, and it's hard for the consumers. They don't know what to pick. Is it this one? This one told me I needed this one. This one told me I needed that one. I don't know which one it is. And it creates a very fragmented thing. So, in a world where we're trying to help women and help create resources, there are companies in there that are fighting each other to say the right thing. And that can be really frustrating. And I think that is what's going to prevent really women's health and this tech to advance the most is just, well, which solution is right? I have the consumer having six solutions they have to pick from.
Where can our audience find you and the company and the product, obviously?
Yeah, so our website is proovtest.com. So proovtest.com. Sign up for our email. It's free. There's so much cool educational content. If you're thinking about conceiving in the future, it's just really good education to have. We have an Instagram channel. It's at Proov Test. A lot of cool content, educational things. So follow us. It's free. As far as like where the product is, website, Amazon, CVS, Walgreens, Target. We try to be at physical retail locations, so there's the most access to it as possible.
And that's only US, right?
Yes.
Amy, thank you very much for joining today and sharing the story and talking more. I mean, talking more about the product.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is a great podcast. I loved it. Thank you.
Stay in touch with us. Subscribe to our podcast, give us a like, comment, or share. If you want to reach out personally, you can find me on LinkedIn and Instagram.